Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. Today, I'm honored to have Freddy Sandoval with us, and you're going to enjoy his story. It's pretty fascinating, and I think anyone that understands the grind it takes to be great at an athletic achievement will understand and appreciate Freddy's enthusiasm for baseball, but also the just the journey he's been on to get to the opportunity to play in the major leagues at some point in his career. So, Freddy, thanks so much for being on today.
Bill, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here, and let's rock and roll.
Let's do it. I love it. So just as a recap, if you're a new listener, what we talk about here is who knew in the moment. So those pivotal moments in your life that when they're occurring, you don't necessarily know the trajectory it's going to send you on, but inevitably it ends up being, in hindsight, a key moment that sent you into this new phase, this next level of your life. And so, Freddie, for you, growing up, you didn't grow up in the States, grew up in Mexico. But I think something that was interesting to me is at 5, your dad kind of knew, hey, you might be good at this baseball thing. So talk a little bit about just your upbringing and, the confidence that was instilled in you at a young age.
Absolutely. I think for me, it all started, like you said, I think I was in diapers still. My brother and my sister, they were both baseball players. My sister actually played baseball until she was about 13. And now she's one of the most recognized softball players in Mexico. But just growing up, on the environment, being at the fields all the time. I mean, 2 siblings playing sports, in this case, baseball. So we were at the field 4 or 5 times a week. You know what I mean? So I have pictures, from when I was a toddler. I was like literally in diapers and holding a bat and a ball. And I think that's kind of where my passion grew. And I developed really early in terms of, the love for the game, like wanting to be around and always having a baseball with me, always in my glove and my bat everywhere I went. I think I remember, Phil, I went to school on cleats, like, you know what I mean? So like, it grew. It was that much, I became so passionate about it that's all I did.
That's awesome. Now at 12, so once again, Freddie is good from the get-go, right? Now it takes effort, but he's good from the get-go. And at 12, you get the keys to the city. So talk a little bit about how cool of an experience that is as a 12-year-old. I mean, I'm sure you don't even recognize what the heck this means, but just talk a little bit about, what that meant to you and maybe, some of the motivation that continued to come from that.
Again, I don't even know if at the time I really realized how big of an accomplishment or an achievement or reward, however you want to call it, it was. Like you said, I was a pretty good baseball player. I wouldn't say it if it was like easy or it took a lot of work. I mean, like I said, Phil, like that's all I did. Like, I am not kidding. That's all I did. And so, getting a lot of rewards in Mexico. There's often things like player of the month, and they're kind of like big things. So I think during that year, I ended up like being like player of the month, like 4 months. Yeah. And, knowing that baseball season was like short in terms of like length. So it was just pretty much every month that I played baseball. And I actually had the opportunity, I think in 2012, I was the runner up for athlete of the year, like in the whole country of Mexico. Yeah. So, when I got rewarded with this amazing achievement, like, I don't even know if you really understood what it meant, but I remember there was a lot of important people in that room and, little things like that, everyone taking pictures. And I'm just kind of like, what is the big deal? Like, I'm 12 years old. Like, I just want to go out and play more baseball. So it was definitely one of the highlights of my career at a young age, especially like being 12 years old. And, it would kind of set me up mentally and just for what was to come down the road, because I still remember, I was talking about it yesterday, but at age 12 I had the president and the governor and everyone like so important, like coming to watch me play, and I was just like a kid, So definitely super intimidating, but for me, I never focused on anything else other than having fun and playing the game.
Absolutely. And I think that's so powerful that you mentioned, kind of a reward, right? Hey, I've worked really hard. I've been able to have success at my craft, and now I'm getting this neat reward. And as a 12-year-old, how cool that is.
100%. I think one of the things that is happening in today's world is that, we live in such a hurry. We want everything to come so fast, and, we want to get on a diet and we want it to be in 3 days. And,
Yeah.
we can no longer wait for a commercial for 5 seconds on the internet because it's too slow,
Right.
and I think a lot of people are, or kids especially, I think it's super important for them to know that success takes time. And
Yeah.
again, success is a relative word, I mean, it's
Mm.
different for everyone, but to me, success is not always like holding the trophy at the end. It's a learning that you get throughout the process. It's the ups and downs, it's the failures. I think
Yes.
those are the ones that actually make you stronger and are going to set you up for what's to come in life.
Absolutely. Well, two things I would say to that is I think you're so right, right? The end result is definitely exciting, but when I think you and I probably both think about accomplishments we've had in our lives, the things that we reflect on are the way we got there, right? It's not even that ending moment, that highlight moment. Like that's really cool, but oftentimes the things we're reflecting on are the ups and downs on the way there. And the second thing that I would say to your comment is the failures. And it's a perfect segue into at 13 years old, you broke a collarbone. And I'm sure for being someone that's so passionate about baseball and someone that's dedicating his life to baseball, that's a big blow, but you end up making it a big positive. So talk a little bit about that for you.
100%. In Little League, I'm not very involved with Little League.
Yeah.
Like I'm just more involved with kids in all the different sports. But in Mexico, 12, 13, the bases are not grounded like into the ground. So it's, they move. So I remember hitting a double, and as I'm rounding first base, I touched first base with my left foot, and the bag slid, and I just kind of fell sideways and landed on my shoulder and popped my collarbone. And like you said, we were, I think, a week or two from starting like regionals and things like that, like important tournaments,
Yeah.
and here I am, like not being able to play.
Mm.
And my dad was my coach during that time, and I would always play catch. I'm a right-handed, so I would always do that. Kind of use the left-handed glove, and
Yeah.
I think one of those times I was like, what, Dad, I think I can play. It's like I'll just play center field or something like that. I'll use a left-handed glove and I'll take it off. He's like, super hesitant, obviously, as a dad. And he's like, well, I'll bat you ninth, but what are you gonna do? And I was
Yeah.
like, I'll just stand left-handed, and I can use my right arm, and I'll just won't move my left arm. And so, sure enough, I'm playing center field, and I'm so nervous because I'm going to go up to the plate, and I have never even attempted to hit left-handed. And Phil, first at bat from the left side, I hit a home run. And it's something that I'm never gonna forget. And it was like something like everyone, coaches, my dad, teammates, everyone's like, "What? Like you just hit a homer? Like you've never swung from the left side?" And not only that, it was a one-handed homer, right? I can't
Right,
use my
right. I
left
was just
hand.
saying, yeah.
So, and it was almost like motivation. It was, one of those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like maybe this is something I can do. Like you said, taking a positive from it. And I will tell you, Phil, from my next like 30 at bats, I didn't even sniff like a foul ball. But that one time, like set up everything else that was to come. And, not being able to use my left shoulder or my left arm for months, because even after I got, the harness, because it's kind of like a harness that pulls you back.
Yeah.
After I got it taken off, like, you're used to not using the left arm. So I just kept on swinging. And eventually that kind of turned almost into a negative because I hit left-handed for about 6 months without ever stepping on the right side again, until my dad kind of called me out, and he's like, listen, like I am your coach. I love you to death. But if you don't hit from the right side, like I'm not going to play you. You're going to play 3 innings. So you're going to be benched. So
Nothing like a little
I was
motivation, right?
forced, I was forced to go back and hit it right-handed after that. And again, to me, it's a blessing,
Yeah.
I talk about it today, Phil, like, I don't know how these big leaguers do it. I mean, balls are coming at you 93 mile an hour curveballs and sliders and, 84 mile an hour like change-ups and 99-mile-an-hour fastballs. Like, I don't know, and I genuinely say this, I don't know if I would have played baseball, like just having to face righties and lefties and lefties.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I never had to do that. You know, I was always on the opposite end.
Right. Yeah, well, I was gonna say, so we're gonna tie that in. Remember this moment where we talk about that collarbone breaking because it's gonna be pivotal to Freddie's whole career. So at a certain point, as we're getting close to high school, we say, you know what, my ability to grow in Mexico is only so much. And I feel like I need to get to the United States to have the opportunities that I would like to have for my baseball career. So talk a little bit about coming to California and, high school and the trajectory that sent you on.
Just kind of like you said, Phil, it may sound cliche, but I really believe it is true. United States is the land of opportunities.
Yeah.
And I always listened to that. I heard that like when I was in school, that's what we would study. And for me, the goal was always the big leagues. I want to be
Yeah.
able to play with the best. And I was like, I'm going to have to do something different here. And yes, I could get through Mexico, but you know what? Like, I want to give myself the best chance. And I think that was a pivotal moment in my career, in my life, because I had to cross the border, Phil, every day. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about me. I was, 15 years old, getting up at 4:30 in the morning,
Right.
taking a bus from my house in Tijuana to downtown, walking a few blocks, taking a bus to the border, getting in line in the border, and taking the trolley. And for those of you who live here in the States and have used the trolley and the bus, like, if you miss your time, you're done for another 30 minutes or an
Right.
hour,
Yeah.
so being super punctual and but it would take 2.5 hours just to get to school. And that was on the way there. On the way back, I didn't have a way back. So my coach, being an amazing guy that he is, Ed Johnson in San Diego, I would have to wait for him after practice, and he took me to the border every single day. But during the week, it was around 6:30, 7. I would end up getting home about 7:30 or 8. And on Fridays, it was a done deal. I would get home at midnight because there was football games that he used to coach football. So I couldn't do anything. From time to time, I would get a ride to the border from someone else. But again, it was just that, exhausting. And I call it exhausting because at 15, 16, 17, like, I didn't live at home. I
Right.
went to my house to sleep. I hardly ever saw my family.
Yeah.
My friends. Like, I didn't, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but my life was fully 100% baseball and school.
Yep.
And again, that's why I say it was, that moment in my life that really dictated, like, okay, this is what I want. Again, I didn't know if I was going to be able to achieve it, but I knew I was going to give it my absolute everything. And that was just one example of what I had to go through to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, and I want to highlight that because I think that's unique, right? How frequently do we say we really want something, but then a 30-minute commute is our barrier to entry, right? And for you, right there, that just wasn't the case. It was, no, I want this so bad that I'm willing to do the uncommon thing to get there, right? That doesn't even account for all the hours you put into actual baseball. It's talking about like the external things of, hey, I had to drive and commute an hour, find a ride home 2 hours, right? I mean, whatever it is, just to get to school. And so I think that's, I don't want that to get lost in all the effort that you put in above and beyond that too.
Phil, I actually wrote that in my book, Mentally Strong. I wrote about that mentality. And I think you mentioned, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Because, I hear a lot like, oh my gosh, practice is so far. I have to go 15 minutes, or I don't want to go to the store. It's 10 minutes away. Or really, do I have to walk 3 blocks? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm always like, okay, how bad do you want it? Because I think we all know that when we really, really, but I mean, like, really want something,
Yep.
there's no excuses. You just get it done. And
Yeah.
I wrote about it in the book because that mentality is so important. Like, how bad do you want something? How bad do you want to change in your life? How do you want a better life? How bad do you want to be a better husband, a better wife, a better son, a better athlete? And you know what? We can actually achieve everything when we eliminate those blockages from our mind. And, a lot of people come up to me telling me their story, and I'm in a sense, I'm kind of like, well, you're kind of telling the wrong person, because if you knew my life, I've done things that people would say, how did you do that? And
Yeah.
the only way I got through it was with this mentality of, how bad do I want it? And it's something from within, it's something here in your heart. That doesn't mean you're not tired. That doesn't mean, you want to quit, because it did cross my mind. But you know what? When your passion is bigger, or in this case, when your goal is bigger than your, everything else, you make an effort and you will make it happen. And regardless of whether or not you achieve it, you're going to be in a better place than you were before.
I love
So
that.
that's how I faced that challenge.
I love it. That's so spot on too. So you're in the United States, you're playing high school baseball, and things go well. You have success, you continue to progress as a player. And then obviously the college opportunity presents itself. So talk a little bit about, recruiting, and then how you ultimately picked San Diego to attend to play baseball.
Well, I hope this isn't a long story, but again, I think this will be the very first time I ever talk about this publicly.
Yeah.
But I actually took a year off right after high school.
Okay.
So as I came into the United States my first year as a sophomore, I took the SAT and I got a really low score on the SAT. I didn't even speak English at all, and 2.5 years later, I take the SAT again. I was a pretty good student. I worked on my English. I took personal classes, with tutors, everything. And I got a really high score the second time around. So the SAT committee said that it was not possible that I would get I think the first score was like a 580. So really, really bad. And then it was like a 1220. So in a sense, I was kind of accused of cheating, and I lost the scholarships that I had because there was no more SAT availables for me to take. So I took a year off. At that point, I was, I believe in science. I believe in, kind of what the life has to offer. And I was like, yeah, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't be in school, and I'm going to go back and play pro ball in Mexico. And so I took that route. I never signed anything. I went to a team in Mexico, and the deal was that if I made the team, I would sign a professional contract. So I was still a minor. I was 17 years old. And in Mexico, you're a minor until 18. So I ended up making the team, Phil. I was 17 years old, but I couldn't sign a contract because I was a minor. So the team flew me back home. And again, signs, or signals. The day of my flight, woke up late. The alarm didn't go off. At that time, we don't have cell phones. It's like you have the alarm clock against the wall, and I don't know if there was electrical failure at night, but the alarm didn't go off. My dad woke up late. I woke up late. We're heading to the airport. My dad has like a minor crash, nothing happened, but we're getting delayed. So I get to the airport. My flight had left already. I called the team over, and the team was like, you know what? We can't get you a flight for 2 days. I was like, okay, it's not a big deal. I have the signed contract with me. So in those 2 days, I went back to my high school, Marian Catholic in San Diego, now Mater Day. And I was practicing with the team. Rich Hill, the coach, longtime coach, just an incredible legend. He's still the coach for the USD Toreros. He was there recruiting a player. So as I'm hitting, I'm working out, he comes up to me. He's like, Freddy, I thought you were in Arizona State. What happened? I was like, I kind of told him the story that I just shared with you. And he asked me 3 times. He's like, have you signed a professional contract? Are you a professional athlete? And I'm like, not yet, technically, but I will be in 2 days when I leave. And I remember, I still get chills, man, because I believe in that type of energy. I believe in the universe, kind of lining up for you. I believe in what you want. It's always kind of right there for you. And I remember asking him, he's like, would you want to go to USD? And I was like, I would love to. I just can't afford it. And he's like, hands me a package. And he's like, I'm offering you a full scholarship right now. He's like, go home, talk about it with your parents, and you have a meeting on Friday to, for your, I don't even know what they call it, your very first meeting at school. And you'll be a USD student. All you have to do is take the SAT again. And it was I still get chills, no one could believe it. I couldn't believe it myself. And a month or two later, I was enrolled at USD.
That's amazing. I love it. So yeah, who knew in the moment of missing my alarm clock that I would end up getting a college scholarship out of it? That's awesome. I love that. So you go to USD, and once again, you have success there. You continue to progress, get better as a baseball player. And over the course of your career, scouts take notice and you end up getting drafted to play professional baseball.
Yes, my 3 years in high school, I mean, in college were definitely different.
Yeah.
A lot of schoolwork, being a student athlete, not being a native speaker, and just working for what you want every single day. It was
Yeah.
definitely challenging, but it was a blast at the same time.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to play as a freshman, there was, I was actually going to red shirt my freshman year, and there was an injury. Our third baseman got Tommy John, and Freddy Sandoval, being the person that he is, he goes up to the coach and be like, "Hey man, I can play third." I'd never played third field my entire life. I just wanted to play. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah, like, well, let's go play third." And I ended up making the team as a freshman. I almost broke the NCAA record for errors at third base. But again, it was like, I want to be here. And I
Yeah.
remember making like 5 errors in one game, and just like absolutely a lot of like failure, but
Yeah.
working at it every single day. The following year was better defensively. Offensively, the numbers are, pretty much always there. And like you said, I started being noticed by MLB scouts, and by my junior year, it was pretty expected that I was gonna like be drafted. I just didn't know where. You know how it
Yeah.
works. So I am thankful, for the Anaheim Angels for taking a chance on me in 2004, and getting drafted in the 8th round was definitely another highlight of my career. It's that moment when all your dreams come true of signing a professional contract.
Yeah. Well, so something I want to highlight there is your willingness to step into a role, even though it might not have been the position you wanted to play, right? I mean, how frequently do we let our ego get in the way of what could be a great opportunity because it's not the way I envisioned it, right? I'm sure no part of you said, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait until I get to college and I'll get to play third base." No, absolutely not. But an opportunity was there and you were willing to step into that opportunity. So talk a little bit about just your willingness to be able to do that, and what that means for people, right? And whatever it is, it's not always going to be baseball, but whatever that opportunity is for them.
Well, like you talked about earlier, Phil, like, how bad do you want it? How about do you want something? A lot of times, like you said, in a regular job or even as a kid, you want to achieve something, but you're not fully committed to it. And,
Yeah.
you want the easy route, or if not, we quit, we give up, and I've done that many times in my career. I did it with my education. I did it in pro ball again with Mike Sosha in the Angels,
Yeah.
but I really I wanted to be a part of a team. I wanted to play. I wanted to be out there. I believe in being kind of out of your comfort zone. I believe in growth. I believe in improving yourself in every area of life. And, at the end of my career, I ended up playing everywhere. But going back to 2009, I'm in spring training. I had already made my debut, and I had a phenomenal like spring training. Actually, I'm sorry, this is 2008. uh, I'm having an incredible spring training, and a coach comes up to me, Alfredo Griffin. He's like, "Hey, we just had a meeting, and I was wondering if you play second base. You're playing really well, and there might be an opportunity for you." And I was like, "Alfredo, I'll play anything. I'll be the bat boy if you want me to. That's what's gonna get me
Yeah.
to the big leagues."
Yep.
So at that point, I started working out at second, and then I was like, "Hey, I play first too." And so check this out, Phil. I go and play first base. The next day, it's kind of like a split squad. And what ended up happening is that in 2007, I had a good year and all that. So I go into spring training, and the team goes on the road, and I go back to the minor league game, but to play first base only.
Mm.
Just get reps and all that. And I made like 2 mistakes within the first 3 hitters, and Mike Soch is just kind of going like this, like, "God." I look, it's like my fault, like, I got it, I'll figure it out. But just that willingness, I think it's super important for everyone
Yeah.
who's listening, especially the kids. Be willing to try something, and it's okay if it doesn't go your way. In fact, if you really want something, if it doesn't go your way, it's going to make you work harder for it. And I
Yes.
encourage everyone, it's like, put yourself in situations that are going to make you better, not
Mm.
better as an athlete, better as a person, because the growth and the learning that you get from it is gonna, dictate, or it's gonna be a key component for later on in life.
Yep. That's awesome. I absolutely love that. Now, Freddie, for you, in your career, then we are drafted, and the MLB is just a lot different than a lot of the other organizations, right? In NBA, NFL, if you get drafted, you just go play for that team. In the MLB, there's a lot of different levels. So once you get drafted, then begins the pursuit of getting to the main team, not just inside the farm club. So talk a little bit about just your progression there. And I do want to highlight, since you already mentioned 2008, to your point, you started having success, you played well, and you're also the Angels organizational player of the year, which is a big deal because that's amongst all the different teams inside the organization.
Yes, minor leagues, I tell people it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was one of the most fun moments of my career. But at the same time, I mean, you talk about the ups and downs. I've been talking about failure.
Yeah.
That's when you really experience it. First of all, you come out of high school or college. In my case, it was college, and you're an okay player. You get drafted, you're a good player. But then you get to a team that it doesn't matter where you look, everyone is just as good as you are or better. And high school you play 30 games, college you play about 50, then you get to pro ball and it's 140, and it's just like, what? So the mental drainage and just the ups and downs, the body, how it suffers the consequences because it's something you've never done. It's a 3 times longer season that you have ever played. You're on your own, you're living you're teaming up and rooming with players, you're living with host families, you're completely out of your environment. So the minor leagues, it's definitely a process that that pushes you with that mentality of how bad you want it, because at the lower levels it honestly plays out like that. You start rookie ball, from the number of fans, from the environment that you play, obviously the money that you make, but each level just gets better and better and better and better. And it's almost as a motivation, kind of like, each level will put you in a better place. And obviously 2008 was by far the best year of my career numbers. And that was when, like you mentioned, I was organizational player of the year. And when I had my first, cup of coffee in the big leagues.
Let's go. Absolutely. Now, Freddie, for you, I want to just talk a little bit about that, right? Just that feeling of my entirety of work, right? 20 years of just, putting in the time, the effort. And you talked about a little bit earlier when you said, sometimes success takes some time, right? And you had wins along the way, but you had this ultimate goal of, I want to play in the major leagues. And so talk about just that moment when you got the call or you got the nod from the coach that, hey, tonight you're going to be playing, suiting up as, an Angel tonight.
Yes, it was actually, my story is very different probably than most, because the whole year I put incredible numbers, player of the week, player of the month, for those people that follow baseball, there was in the back old rules, there was September call-ups, and August 31st comes in, I go and have my at bat in the first inning, I hit a double, and I'm at second base, and all of a sudden I get taken out of the game. And there's 15,000 people at the stadium. Everyone's and the fans are coming over. It's like, Freddy, going to the big leagues. I'm in the dugout. I'm wondering, why am I out of the game?
Yeah. Right.
And finally I go up to my manager at that time, Bobby Mitchell. I'm like, Bobby, why'd you take me out of the game? He's like, Freddy, we're going to start the playoffs tomorrow. You need to be well rested, and I'm just all my dreams just kind of go down the drain, and it didn't happen for me. September 1st, we lost a lot of players that year. We started the playoffs, and 6 days later, we lost the playoffs, and I get the call. First of all, I go into the office, they call me in. Nowhere in my mind is the fact that I'm getting called up. I mean, this is September 6th, it's way after the September call up. So I go to the office, and they talked to me about, the season that I had, and, continue to like be yourself, continue to play hard. And, we just wanted to let you know that you were minor league player of the year. So there was, a lot of cheers, a lot of hugs and everything. So I'm about to walk out the door. I actually open up the door. And as I open up the door, I'm about to step out. And he's like, manager Bobby Mitchell was like, "Hey, Freddie, by the way, make sure that you continue to do this in Anaheim tomorrow." And I'm just like, I turn around. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, make sure you continue to do this in the big leagues." And I'm like, "What?" And at that point, I think I like cursed at him. I'm like, "Are you like serious?" And like got a huge hug. The following day was a day off for the Angels. So my major league debut was September 8th, 2008. It's a date that I will never forget. And, just such a special moment.
Yes, that's amazing. So, Freddie, you get to be in the major leagues, and you have two seasons, right, in the major leagues with the
Yes,
Angels.
it's the big leagues. The way it works is it's cumulative time. It's
Yep.
day by day. If you're in
Hmm.
big leagues one day, they count it as a season, but it's
Yeah.
only one day.
Yep.
So over a 3-year span, I accumulated, I think, just under 1 year of major league service.
Mm.
So about 160 days that
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to be at the major league level, and a bunch of that time was actually on the disabled list.
Got it. And so as the pro career, happens, the playing happens, it comes to an end, but you get an opportunity with the Kansas City Royals in a completely different capacity. So talk a little bit about how that opportunity came to be and what you did with them.
Well, first of all, after the 2008 season, I go back to the big leagues. And, like I said, I've always liked to be prepared. I like to be
Yeah.
prepared. And back right after the season in 2008, I went back to school, got my degree in psychology. The following year, I started a master's in management, human resources. So by the time that my baseball career was coming to an end, I started looking at what to do. And an opportunity came up with the Kansas City Royals, type of a mentorship role, if you want to call it. And I ended up signing with them shortly after I retired. I retired in 2011. Being hurt for 3 years, starting 2009 and 10 and then 11. I became a medical liability. And, you talk about failures or, just things not going your way. But there was a backup plan. I was finishing school. I got all that done. I prepared myself for what was coming next. And, that's where I developed my mental training program. As a certified professional mental coach now, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, and just helping kids and people, not necessarily just in sports, but in life in general, to transform their mindset, to eliminate fears, roadblocks, you call it, depressions, anxieties, all the things that we face and we go through as human beings. And I started putting my program together with the Kansas City Royals from 2012 until shortly after the World Series in 15.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, you were with them for a pretty pivotal time in the organizational career for them. And what I'd like you to talk a little bit about is, what did you spend time doing in that mental training? What was kind of the development process for working with athletes? Because once again, there's a lot of things that you need as an athlete to mentally train on that is transferable across all things, right? Businesses and families and things like that. So talk a little bit about what it was specifically that you kind of developed and organized there.
Well, again, Phil, through all the things that we've talked about, going through my childhood as a 7, 8, 9 year old until 12, 13, until high school, college, minor leagues, all sports, talk about being mentally strong. It's like you have to, baseball and sports and life itself, requires some type of mental capacity to
Yeah.
make it through. But what does that mean? So obviously, having studied psychology and just digging into the books and reading and researching, I put together a mental training program that, just like we train in the physical body, or we would do our training for any job that we get, that's what I do. I developed a mental training program that that you can do at home on your own time to train the mind to think differently. And it's a process. It's a process that takes time. And that's what I developed there with the Royals, and what a lot of the players did. And it's a funny story to mention, even though I can't mention names because of confidentiality. My first year with the Royals, I worked with 3 kids. That was it.
Yeah.
Those 3 kids changed quite a bit, not just baseball wise, but their lives got better and improved. And it almost became as a new product that you get. You buy a new product, you like it, you talk about it, and that's how it happened. The following year it was like 16 players. The following year it was like 50. In 2015, there was 120 kids that I was working with individually. Wow. And it was just such an incredible moment, just to see that growth. And again, if you go back to 2011, this whole mental thing was kind of new, so a lot of people were like super skeptical about it. And just to see that growth, it was just such an amazing, time of my life, because the challenges that you face, and, the non-believers and the mental side, all these different things. But now I think every sport and every company out there, they understand fully the power of the brain and the importance of being mentally strong.
Absolutely. So what I wonder is, you're talking to some of the people that are at the pinnacle of what they do, right? And, some would say, well, gosh, how does that person have any negative thoughts? How do they have any negative self-talk? Like, they're one of the best in the world at what they do, but inevitably we're all just human. So what, in your opinion, are 1 or 2 of the, I guess, mental sides of things that hold people back, that just in a very practical way, you could say, hey, here are 1 or 2 things that a lot of people struggle with, and how you might recommend that they work through that?
Ego, number 1.
Hey, man, I needed to hear that.
I had that, Phil, and I actually talk about it in my book, in the topic of awareness, because I actually had the opportunity in 2009 to work with Ken Revisa, who passed away years ago, and one of the best mental coaches ever, and he came over to the Angels. And, I still remember the day he was sitting right next to me by my locker, and he's like, hey, Freddie, you want to talk a little bit about the mental side? And I'm like, yeah, Ken, I don't believe in this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? And I always tell that story because my ego didn't allow me. I mean, I was one of those guys. What are people going to think about me if they see me talking to Ken? They're going to think that there's something wrong with me.
Right.
I am too good. I don't need any help from anyone. I'm invincible. And you know what? No, I had my struggles internally. I had my depression, my anxieties, my battles with the negative world, all these different things. But you know what? My ego didn't allow me to get that help. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom, that 2009, when I got hurt for the first time, that I really experienced what it was to be in depression. And, I needed help. So I started seeking out that help, reading a lot of books, talking to people. A few years later, I had the opportunity to talk to Ken again and apologize, and it was definitely something that changed my mind. So I would say, to answer your question, number 1 is ego. And, hand in hand, this next thing you say, that I would say is our willingness to get better. Like I said earlier, a lot of people want to get better, but there's a lot of factors that don't allow us for that to happen. And, I call it flexibility of mind. We think we're know-it-alls,
Right.
I've always done it this way, and this is the way that works. And they're not willing to try something new, So the very first thing I tell people all the time is, are you willing to do it?
Bingo.
And if you're willing, it sounds cliche, but really the sky is the limit, because every day you find out new things, and how powerful our mind is. And when you put it to work, man, it's kind of unbelievable.
I love that. That's great. Yes. Get rid of the ego, or at least lessen the ego, and then be willing to do the work. I love that.
The ego is actually a good thing.
Yes.
I don't always talk about it in a bad way, but in this case, yes, we're not perfect. Nobody is. And, if we put that aside and are willing to get help and seek help, I think we're going to be in a better place.
I love it. That's great. So then, Freddie, you transition into your business, and it's the choice to believe. So talk a little bit about that mission and what you're doing there. I think that's, a really cool project that you're doing.
Shortly after I retired, I almost like in a dream, man, it came up, like the name.
Yeah.
You know what? I love this name. I want to have a company. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to start a company. And in 2012, the Choice to Believe became a legal company, even though I didn't do anything with it until 2014.
Yeah.
So I just loved the name, and I became a company, even though I didn't do anything with it. So after I put together the program with Kansas City, it started becoming something, and now it is my company. I'm the sole proprietorship, and what I do with it is that I lead people to change their life and transform their lives. I've worked with over 700 people over the course of 10 years, and as far as I know, every single person that I've worked with has seen a change and improved, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what change is to me. That's what transformation is you can take someone from where they are and just make an improvement. Like I said, success is different for everyone. So for me, it's just about transforming the mindset and becoming, the person that you want to become, because I believe that deep inside, we all want something more, something better. And a lot of the times we don't have the guidance, or we don't know how to get there. So what I do is I take people week to week through a process of transformation or change to, clear the mind and, in a sense, become mentally stronger. So that's what the Choice to Believe is. I believe that we all make choices and we all make decisions every day. And that's what this is all about. It's your own individual opportunity, your own individual choice and decision to do something great with your life.
That's awesome. I love that. So Freddie, I have a pointed question that I'd love to hear your answer to. So the question, or I guess the topic is, and it's a phrase, it's blissful dissatisfaction. Okay. So the idea behind it is there are those kind of the people in life that they hit a goal, and once they hit the goal, they plateau because they've reached that point that they wanted to reach, right? And so the desire to continue to work maybe just isn't there anymore. But then there can be the completely opposite end of the spectrum, which I think probably you and I both fall into. And that is every time I hit a goal, I'm so quickly on to my next goal that I don't take time to celebrate that first goal that I had originally had. So for you and in your career of all the amazing accolades and things you've been able to accomplish, how did you balance the not plateauing, continuing to strive for more, but not losing the joy that comes out of hitting that goal?
I think it came from my internal motivation. Plateauing, I mean, it can be good. I don't talk about it. In fact, it's like, no, we got to always keep going.
Yeah.
I have a hashtag that I came up with that it's in Spanish and English that basically just means move forward. Always para adelante. It's broken down Spanish. It's in English. It's in Spanish. It's a mixture of things. But what it means is just move forward. Yeah. I think for me, it was my internal motivation that got me there. And I talk about it in the book as well, but I call it the watch me mentality. Yep. We all get to that point where we're tired, we're overwhelmed, we maybe want to quit, our goal seems so far away. And that's what got me through it. It's like, and again, going back to negativity, it was all those people that told me I couldn't achieve something. That's what the watch me mentality means. I remember this one guy who told me I wasn't good enough to sign a pro contract. And it's just like, watch me. I am going to get this done. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to, go through the challenges. I'm going to just get up every morning and continue to move forward just because you told me I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? And I talk about it in the book. It was one of those things that drove me every single day. Yeah. And in the minor leagues, maybe it wasn't a person, it was an organization as a whole. Like, I am going to force you to put me in the big leagues, and I'm going to work my butt off every day through the ups and downs, and watch me, because you know what? It is a grind. Like, life life is challenging, life is difficult, you know, but it is way too easy to give up. And I always tell people, it's like, we got to find it within ourselves, here in our mind and in our heart, to continue to move forward, to just move forward, regardless of what happens. So, you know, looking at the failures or at the past, you know, we have a tendency to look at things negatively. I always tell people and encourage them, it's like, look at it as a good thing. You know, I'm not saying that you're proud of what you did or what happened to you. What I'm saying is, look at it, embrace it, come to love it, come to terms with it, let it go, so that you can move forward, you know, because you're only affecting yourself here in your mind. So I look at basically all of my life, Phil, like even the bad stuff, you know, I went through some pretty hard stuff, and, you know, I look at it as a good thing, as a blessing. One, I've been able to help a lot of people through the things that I went through, but two, most importantly, they made me the person that I am today. Phil, I wasn't always like this, you know. I wouldn't necessarily say I was a screw up, but, you know, I made a lot of bad decisions. And 10, 12 years ago, I decided to change my life. And if I had to go through everything that I went through, the ups and the downs, especially the downs, to be where I am today with this peace of mind and be able to sleep at night and, you know, be a responsible father for my kids, like, you know what, I would do it all over again just to be where I am. So, you know, that's what I talk about a lot. So I hope that answers your question.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, Freddie. Well, as promised to each listener, you have a fascinating story. I appreciate you, one, sharing how you got there. And I think, you know, a huge takeaway I have is just, if your drive is enough, there's nothing that can be in your way. Right. And I mean, whether that was you having to go from Mexico to the United States, whether that was commuting daily to get to school, whether that was, you know, hey, I didn't necessarily get to play the position I wanted, but I still progressed forward. So I think that's a great takeaway. So Freddie, I appreciate your time today, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, you know, to all the listeners out there, you know, I tell people all the time, whether in sports or not, you know, just have fun, enjoy your life. You know, we go through life so fast that we forget about the little things. And, you know, we live in such an amazing world that if we actually pay attention and open our eyes, you know, we're going to be in a better place. And, you know, you can achieve anything you want.
I love it. Thanks so much, Freddie.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it.